Welcome to episode 80 of the AskShell.com podcast. We are answering emails from homeowners like yourself. If you have an email that you would like myself, Morgan, or Shell to answer, it's simple. Just go to AskShell.com and submit your question. G'day, Shell. How are you?
I tell you, Morgan, if I was any better, I'd likely be, well, dangerous.
Dangerous. Okay.
And I don't mean it in any other way than getting the word out there the right way, folks, and that's helping you.
Call him trouble.
There you go. Boy, oh boy, I can't believe the calls that we're getting from people who have got concerns that they haven't had in their home for as long as they've lived there, but this year they do have.
Right.
And folks, believe me, it's the cold weather that has been causing a lot of grief.
Especially down here in the lower mainland where we have not had this much snowfall or cold weather for this long a period of time, probably since 2008.
Well, actually, I heard one comment on the radio not that long ago that it was 25 years since we've had a weather conditions like we've had this past fall and on through the Christmas and New Year's season. So, and folks, think about one thing, ice damming. And we might just have a chance at the end of this program to bring up just a taster of what you may be finding in your home at this time. So we'll bring that up.
I actually just shared a video on our Facebook page of Icicle going through the ceiling of a house in Montana. It went into, luckily it was in a closet. She just heard a loud boom. But apparently one of her furnace pipes had broken and a bunch of steam went up into her attic, causing this massive icicle, and it let go and it came crashing down right through her ceiling.
Wow, well, it's I can tell you stories like that.
So go check out our Facebook page, look for Shell Busey's Home Service Referral Network. We share a lot of good information on our Facebook page. Like it and go from there. On this week's podcast, we've got a question and answer from Tony Giaventu, the Executive Director of the Condominium Homeowners Association. Emails I have for yourself, Shell. Freezing vent pipes. Mm-hmm. What are your suggestions, good, better, best, for non-plumbed toilets?
Oh, yes.
Turning off the main water to the house when you leave for a day or leave for a vacation. Mm-hmm. Home humidification. And a backup generator for your house. Right
on. Well, that's 5 I counted. Did I not there? 5? Yes, 5. And you know, folks, 5 questions by email are nowhere near the number of emails that I receive. It's just that Morgan and Monica select out of the number that we do receive from you. It's going to help a lot more than just one person. So therefore, they're selected, I answer them, and it helps many, many people who open up our newsletter and our podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
And Shell does answer all of these emails personally. So even the ones that don't make the podcast, Shell will give you an answer to. So again, go to AskShell.com and submit your question if you have a concern with your home.
You bet.
First email, freezing vent pipes. A few years ago, I saw that you suggested putting a copper pipe inside a vent pipe to help keep it from freezing. Do you still recommend that, and can you tell us how that is done? Thank you, Colleen.
Well, Colleen, all I can say is I don't know just where you got that information from, but that is not mine. Putting a copper pipe inside an ABS plastic pipe is not going to stop freezing. In fact, if anything, it will increase the ability of the moisture that would be venting to freeze, because copper has got a much better freeze point than you would have with plastic. So let's just credit that to somebody else, but I won't take that because it's not something that I would be recommending. But it's not unusual for me to get a request like this and something being made reference to myself. And the reason for that, obviously, there's so many home type shows on the TV. You can virtually Google anything. There is only one Shell Busey, believe me, and a lot of people will say, thank goodness there isn't anymore. Well, I wish there was more if they could answer the questions like I do, but on the other hand, let's get to yours. What you want to do when you have a vent stack, and incidentally, folks, for all those of you that are listening to this broadcast, a vent stack is from your plumbing. So from your showers, from your tubs, from your bathtubs, from your it could be just a vanity or a kitchen sink, or it could be your dishwasher. It could be any of those items. And dishwashers are really hot water.
Right.
When they drain.
And a lot of steam.
And a lot of steam. So that all goes up the vent stack because the water is heading for the sewer line, be it the sanitary sewer in most cases. Some people even have some drains going into such things that they should not be going into, is like your storm drains, and that isn't where any common domestic water should be going. All domestic water from your home, plumbing into bathrooms and kitchens, and all the rest of the items that drain should be going to sanitary sewer. Okay? But that heat, that steam from that water goes up the vent stack. Well, if it's multi-degrees below zero, you're going to find that as it's venting, it's condensing and it's freezing. So it's not unusual back in provinces in Western Canada, and certainly not in Vancouver, but in the North Country, yes, in the northern BC. But here in Vancouver, this year, we had the temperatures that actually caused this to happen. So your vent stack would actually freeze over. And when it would freeze over, then you're starving your sanitary drainage system for air. And that wasn't uncommon. You flush a toilet, or you drain a sink, or your dishwasher, or your washing machine, and you'd hear gurgle, 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 or you might even get bubbling in your toilet because it's starving for air. So it's drawing air through and back into the home. And what I suggest you do, if you have this problem, go to somebody like Canadian Tire or Home Hardware and purchase what we call is basic. It's a heat cable. And it's a heat cable, and Hotline is one of the ones that manufacture them, and they're available through the likes of your Canadian Tire stores, hardware stores, and some of the box stores will have them as well, like your Home Depots, but not so much here in this part of the country because they've never been required.
Right.
So therefore, you may have to go into their website and source it out by that means. But they come as a like a heat cable, and on the one end of the cable there's a thermostat, and that thermostat, obviously, as soon as it senses ice being formed, turns on the line, turns on that circuit. And that circuit then warms up the cable, and the cable won't allow any freezing. So the thermostat end of the cable goes to the outside, or sits over top of the vent stack, and then it goes down into the pipe, and then it plugs in like any one of your like your Christmas lights and that sort of thing, and then you take it down in the spring. So that's what you want there, and they do control melting. Some people will even put them, especially back in the prairies in Ontario and eastbound, you'll find heat cables along the edge of the roof.
My parents have that up north.
Up north, up in Kitwanga.
Yeah, I've also heard you suggest that it could be a good idea to have them running down your downspout.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can put them in your gutters, because there's a lot of things that happen that once your gutters are full, then that ice is going to start working back on the roof line, and it could get in underneath your shingles and into the areas that could eventually melt and drip into your home, and you got stains on your ceiling. But that's what you want there, Colleen. Go for it, and I would check out like Canadian Tire, because Canadian Tire, they're right across country, as a lot of the box stores, but Canadian Tire do stock a lot of those miscellaneous items like heat cables, because they're used for everything from water troughs for cattle in the cattle industry. So check them out. It's just that easy. Thanks for your email.
Good stuff. That thermostat really will help the electric bill as well.
Yeah, because they're not on all the time.
Yeah. Next email. What is the best choice for a non-plumbed toilet, composting or incineration? Unless there is another type you suggest. There is electrical power where we plan to put it. Thank you, Doris.
Well, Doris, you brought up a very good one, actually, because there are a lot of people today developing their basements, developing extra rooms. Maybe they put on the home and they want to put in a bathroom for mom and dad who are possibly living with you now, and you want something a little more convenient than the toilet to go upstairs, that sort of thing. And the composting and the incinerating, yeah, those are all okay. But, I look at those as being somewhere maybe out at a cabin,
I was gonna say,
a vacation home, that type of thing, up the ski slopes. But myself, I have installed and I have used what's called SaniFlow. And SaniFlow is a macerating toilet. And a macerating toilet means basically macerate is like a garbage or I was going to say a garburator in your sink, and because that's something that will macerate. It's got the chisel blades in there that chew everything up, and then you flush it on down the drain. Well, the macerating toilet will take the sewage and chew it all up, and actually it will be pumped out through a pipe that's no bigger than 3/4 of an inch in diameter. And you can take that up and send it out one of your sewer pipes that you have no matter where it is. You can take it down under the floor or take it across the wall or up into the ceiling and across. You can basically have a toilet anywhere, and including a shower and also a vanity sink. So my choice there would be the SaniFlow. Okay, the SaniFlow, and you can install it anywhere. But if you even go to Google and Google SaniFlow, you'll get all the information, and also they'll tell you who in your area will have it. But there's lots of plumbing companies that do have those available. And also you got the electric right there, and that's all it takes is a 115 volt system to power it up. So
Right.
There you have it. That's SaniFlow, and I see you're in North Vancouver, and I did try to call you, but no answer. Actually, it was a wrong number that came back. So I don't know if we did that or what happened, but anyway, you got the information now, and you will be emailed this answer to you from this.
Would a
program.
composting or incinerating toilet have a smell?
No, absolutely not. None of those do have, but they're a little more cumbersome, a little more massive in mass itself as far as cubic footage of room required.
Right.
Whereas the macerating SaniFlow, same as any toilet.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
So no one would even know that it was a non-plumbed
No,
toilet.
in fact, I dare say they wouldn't. Yep.
Next email. Whenever I leave my home for more than a day or so and go on holidays, I shut off the main water tap to the house and put our hot water tank to the vacation setting. Is this a good idea? Does this do more harm to the hot water tank for a long period of time, considering no water is being run through the tank? Thank you, and Happy New Year, Marcel.
Well, Marcel, you're being a little overcautious, I might add, and to shut everything off to that point in a home, and again I say not a vacation home up on the mountainside or at the lake, but if it's a cottage, then yes, we do have a cottage shutdown process that you can follow. Just go to our website, askshell.com, and go to the Q&As, question and answers, and put the question there, and it'll give you the full walkthrough as to what you should or should not do. But also, you don't have to do anything. It's only going to be one day. I mean, my goodness, one day. I mean, I go out of the house for 1 day at a time, 2 days at a time, 3 days before. As long as you're even a 2-week period. If you're going for a month, then yes, shut your water down. If there's any concern, like shut the water off to your ice maker, shut your ice maker off in the refrigerator, and also shut the water off underneath your kitchen sink, and shut the water off in your bathroom underneath your vanities, and also the hoses. And I know that we have difficulty at times getting people convinced to shut your laundry water off, like to your washer. And some dryers now have steamers in them, so therefore there's a water line going to them. So those are the things that you want to be most concerned about. But your hot water tank, put it on vacation, go and forget about it. It's just that easy.
And part of your Ombudsman blog, which is also on our Facebook page, you gave a little tip for someone that was going away for vacation for a long period of time. You said you could freeze a frozen cup of water and put it in your freezer, and then you put a quarter on top, and if you come back and that quarter's still on top, your power didn't go out.
That's right.
And the food in your freezer should still be good.
Should be good. And if it's in the
gets
bottom.
if it gets about halfway down, you're probably still good because it didn't quite unthaw. But if that quarter gets all the way to the bottom of that cup, you're probably throwing out some food.
You're going to be throwing out some food because obviously the ice melted on top, and melting on top, the quarter went right on through. Little tip. Thanks, Mark, for bringing that up.
The Ombudsman blog, check it out on our Facebook page. You are listening to episode 80 of the AskShell.com podcast. We are answering emails submitted from homeowners like yourself. Coming up at the end of the show, we've got our question and answer by Tony Giaventu. I will read the question and Shell will read Tony's answer. This week's question is on alterations and information management. Next email I have for you, Shell. I have a home which is heated using a boiler with in-floor hydronic heating. There is no forced air furnace. I would like to install a humidifier to improve the dryness of the air. What would you suggest to be the best type of humidifier to use for my system? A flow-through type would not be suitable as the house is serviced via a well, water, and septic system. Thank you, Tom.
Well, Tom, certainly I can understand you're concerned about the flow-through, but the flow-through only really work on a forced air system, and not unless you do have full water supply. That's going to be convenient. But what you're talking about really is something that happens no matter where you live, where you have convection heat or radiant heat, and especially radiant heat in the floor. Because when you get cold temperatures, colder the temperature outside, the drier it's going to be. So therefore that migratory air will find itself into your home. Through that of the requirement for dryers, etc., and exhaust fans, you're going to bring that dry air into your home, which is going to reduce the relative humidity, and down comes the moisture. So how do you add moisture? Well, simply control it by getting yourself a moisture indicator. That's a hygrometer, and you can buy them at your local hardware store. And it gives you the moisture level in your home, plus it gives you the temperature inside your home, and you know what the temperature is outside. Just listen to the news or read the newspaper, or you might have a cell phone that gives you the GPS temperature readings. So once you know that you do require moisture, then when you're showering, very simply don't turn the exhaust fan on. Let it go out into your home. That's going to be one way. Taking the towels that you use to dry yourself off and towel down around the ceramic tiles and the shower and bathtub area, hang them up to dry in the laundry room and let that migrate out into the home. It may be as simple as buying or boiling a kettle, depending on the size of your condo or apartment or your home. Those are all areas that you're putting moisture into the air. Or very simply go out and buy or rent for the season a humidifier. And the humidifiers, which are a console model, they're portable, you plug them in and you add water. It's just that easy. The main thing is have the control point that you know where the moisture level is, and you want to maintain, depending on the temperature outside, around 35 to 40% relative humidity. But if you get down around 20, it gets a little hard on the, your throat, for example. You might get a little hoarse like I am right now because it is dry here in the office and we have had some cold weather. But it is damper today and it's starting to rain. So we'll be bringing that moisture level up again. But get the control points. Know where you should be and know what you should be at with the temperature inside, outside, and your relative humidity level. That's RH. Relative humidity. And if you can also go and get all that information on our website. It's there, it's available. Just go to AskShell.com, put in there moisture levels within your home. Just that easy.
It is. The last email I have for you before we get to Tony Giaventu's condo question of the week. I want to have a generator as a backup in my home for emergency purposes. I am considering a gasoline one, which I would like to have wired to permanent switching when needed. Now I see propane portables in some stores. Which type would be best as a backup emergency system?
You know, Fred, what you forgot to do, and it's too bad that you didn't, but we will find out sooner than later, but because I'll address it all here. First of all, I wouldn't even think of a gasoline generator, because gasoline, first of all, is very flammable, as is any one of the oils, etc. But you don't want to be storing it anywhere that's going to be something that you're going to have to go, and the time you really need it will be the time you'll be out of gas. So I would be suggesting, first and foremost, natural gas. So if you've got natural gas available, you can get natural gas generators. Propane obviously would be natural gas. It just depends on the fuel, the actual valve gauge is what I'm looking for there. The gauge that is going to be used for the hookup. But natural gas or propane would be a good choice, or diesel. Diesel would even be good, and diesel's available as well. But I made a note mentally, and we built a home at one time that had a full support backup generation, and we had natural gas, and it was a Gentech, and that was spelled Gentec. And if you Google Gentech, you'll find all the different ones that they have available, and where they're available, who's got them. All your electricians that are in the business of doing major electrical work on commercial buildings, etc., have got all the information. Our electricians within our referral network, they definitely have all that information and have installed them. There's switchover switches, all those different things are required in the event of the power going down. In fact, the home that we built, we had the backup generator onto our refrigeration, our deep freeze, and areas that required the fan for the heat pump, that sort of thing, the electricity. Because those are the ones, if you're on holidays and it was in wintertime, those are the ones you're going to be using.
Right.
So you had the heat there and all the food commodity being taken care of. So Gentech, natural gas, and if not, propane would be certainly a good choice. Not gasoline, and certainly second from the bottom would be diesel. It's just that easy. Thanks for that. That's a good one this time of the year, because we've had all kinds of ice storms around.
Right, yeah. A lot of trees hanging over power lines and all
Exactly.
those good stuff like that. That's all the emails I've got for you this week's show, but we do have our condo question of the week submitted by Tony Giaventu, the Executive Director of the Condominium Homeowners Association.
And this is for you owners of condominiums and apartments and or townhouses. That's so important, because Tony Giaventu is the person that is on our call list, and we think he is the best when it comes to information on stratas.
And 90 to 95% of new home builds in BC are stratas. So
Yeah.
they're not going away. So the more information you can get, the better. And Tony is a wealth of information.
You got that right.
So here's the question for you, Shell. Dear Tony, our Strata Council has discovered a serious problem in how we manage our information. In 2002, one of our townhouse owners requested permission to install 3 skylights into her unit. The Strata consented on the condition that she agreed in writing to be responsible for the maintenance and repair and any future costs related to the damages. She sold her unit in 2007, and the unit changed ownership again in 2014. We're planning on re-roofing the complex later this year, and the roofing consultant has told us the skylights have to be replaced at the same time. They were not installed correctly, and to remove them and reinstall them will finish them off. The additional cost will be about $1,800, so we informed the current owners of the cost. The current owners have responded and advised that they were unaware the skylights were not part of the Strata responsibility. They want to know why they should be paying for the replacement. The council needs to know how we collect the cost, and if we cannot, what do we do next? Jillian R.
Okay, well, Jillian, that is a very good question. And as soon as I read this email at first, I thought, right off the bat, somewhere someone hasn't asked for a Form B. And because a Form B is the form that is filled out and stamped of approval and certified that the Strata knows. Strata management, Strata board, all that information is known in the event if that Strata home lot is ever sold, because you have to identify those things that are outside of Strata, okay, that responsible by the owner of that particular Strata lot, okay, and the Strata lot is your Strata, That's your suite, so to speak. Okay? All right. Well, excuse me there. I'm going to read the answer from Tony. And yes, it does come up with regards to what I made reference to as far as the form. Dear Jillian, a strata corporation is not permitted to make an owner responsible for the maintenance and repair of common property, but as a condition of an alteration to the strata may be required an agreement that this will be done in a responsible way for any costs that would be associated with the alteration by the homeowner. When the strata lot is purchased, most buyers will request a Form B information certificate. The certificate provides basic information about the strata, such as the monthly strata fees, contingency reserve balance, parking and storage locker allocations, and special levies, court proceedings, and judgments against the strata, and in this case, any agreements where the owner has taken the responsibility for expenses relating to the alterations to the common property. The Strata Property Act requires strata corporations to keep copies of Form Bs that have been issued for at least 6 years, but it also requires the strata corporations retain copies of contracts that are current. If you can, in your case, the alteration agreement would be considered a contract. Both buyers in 2007 and 2014 requested a Form B. Unfortunately, the strata did not disclose or attach the alteration agreement, and there was no other record since 2002 that indicated the installation of the windows or skylights or any conditions. Ultimately, strata corporations who permit alterations to common property and do not require alteration agreements, or who do not disclose them to the subsequent buyers, may find the strata is left with the responsibility. This is the principle of the disclosure here. When an owner requests a Form B, they expect to rely upon the information that the strata provided as accurate. As a buyer, I may have chosen not to purchase the unit if I found out that it would be my responsibility, being those skylights. Now here we go. This is your advice. Strata corporations always struggle with managing their records. Strata councils frequently change. The strata management company changes. Records get moved around and archived, and critical documents are lost. Online storage has been everyone's with a asynchronous tool for document storage and access. And what that really means is it's a lack of synchronization and a failure to have these happen at the same time. And that's the whole problem there, that if you're selling, you got to have a Form B. If you're buying, you want to ask for it. So those are the things that are very important. A website for your strata where nothing but record storage is maintained is an excellent economic resource. For an example, Power Strata Systems in North Vancouver, for example, provide a cost-based hosting of strata websites, especially focused on information management. For about $35 a month, a 25-unit strata can host all the records and maintain a stable corporate history. Your strata councils, the information, the access, and the next strata council or management company won't be chasing down lost records and contracts all over the place. So there's a real good point that you should be making a note of when you're out there buying a strata lot, townhouse, apartment, or condominium.
Form B.
Form B. It's just that easy.
Well, Shell, that's it. We've come to the end of episode 80 of the AskShell.com podcast. To have your email answered in episode 81, it's simple. Go to AskShell.com. That's AskShell.com. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, and tell them to look it up too. Shell, we'll talk to you in a week or two for episode 81.
You betcha we will. And folks, keep in mind, let us know how you enjoy the podcast. Because if you don't open it, we don't have any significance telling us how many are opening it and how many are enjoying it. And if that's you out there enjoying it, by all means, we'd love to hear from you. And with that, I would like to say again, Happy New Year. Love you all. Bye-bye for now.